Wojciechowski. And it's knocked away by Goodwin. Here's Booker. Booker all the way. What a sequence for the Suns.
Welcome back to your Valley Sports Plugs Phoenix Suns recap for November 29th through December 12th, 2023. I'm Chris Patrick. That's Michael Benjamin. And we're here to break it all down for you. So let's go ahead and get right into it.
We're starting this one off north of the border as the Suns head to Toronto to take on the Raptors. Of course, Drake was in the house, and KD was back in action after missing 2 games with a sore foot. But this one was a bit ugly and uncharacteristic. KD was 11 of 30 from the field. Devin Booker is hobbled after he steps on Dennis Schroeder's foot early in the second half. He did return to fight through the pain, only to miss the 3 that would have tied the game with 50 seconds left. And honestly, folks, this was probably his worst outing in the past 5 years, as he scores only 8 points, shooting 2 of 12, and looking a bit physically incapable the entirety of the second half when he returns. It was then time for Book to miss some more action, obviously looking to heal that ankle, and the defending champion Denver Nuggets come to town for their first matchup of the season. And this was a battle of the bigs as Jusuf Nurkic got down and dirty in the post with Jokic all night, dropping 31 points and stifling the Joker as best as he could. And the Suns cut a 17-point deficit to just 3 heading into the fourth, but the Nuggets, they showed how they are tightly knit, and all starters scored in double figures, including 15 each from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Justin Holiday.
Staying at home, the Phoenix Suns would host the Memphis Grizzlies, who were still without their star point guard Ja Morant, out serving a 25-game suspension to start this season for off-the-court infractions. However, Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane tried to pick up the slack as best they could for the Grizzlies, combining to score 64 of the team's 109 points. But this was no match for the Suns. Their 2 stars, Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, combined to score 61 of the team's 116 points and gave the Suns the win. Booker was a game-time decision for this one, nursing that ankle injury Mike mentioned. And after the game, head coach Frank Vogel said he wanted to play yesterday. He played a great game. He is the leader of our offense in terms of organizing us. It's always tricky when he is out of the game, getting our guys in the right spot. There's no way to overstate just how important Devin Booker is to this team. After that, it was out to Los Angeles for the quarterfinals of the NBA in-season tournament. The winner would advance to the semifinals to be played in Las Vegas and a chance at the NBA Cup. The Suns were down by 8 at halftime in this one, but came out strong in the third, putting up 35 points and taking a 2-point lead into the final quarter. A controversial finish in this one is LeBron James was allowed to call a timeout shortly after Austin Reeves appeared to have lost possession of the ball with just 7 seconds left on the clock. Anthony Davis made 1 of 2 free throws after the timeout, which put the Lakers up by 3. Kevin Durant had one last chance to chuck up a 3-pointer and tie this one, but came up just short. And the Lakers steal this one 106-103 to advance. And about that NBA in-season tournament championship. After beating the Suns, the Lakers advanced to the quarterfinals to face the New Orleans Pelicans, who appeared to be rolling, but instead were steamrolled by the Lakers 133-89. Mike, I read that right. 133-89. And LA was on its way to the championship game to face off against the Indiana Pacers, who overcame the powerhouse Milwaukee Bucks to advance themselves. It was all eyes on Las Vegas and the NBA in-season tournament championship game. And just as Adam Silver and the NBA scripted it, LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers become the first team in history to ever win the NBA Cup. And they'll have a banner raised in Crypto.com Arena on December 18th.
And as we know, the Suns couldn't capitalize themselves in LA, so the NBA schedule gurus slate us a matchup with the Sacramento Kings in downtown Phoenix on Friday. And a solid first half was utterly outdone with a dismal third quarter. The Suns are outscored 33-12 after heading into the break up 9. De'Aaron Fox put the clamps down in the fourth quarter, shooting 8 of 13 from the field. And Phoenix just had no answer for the doubles on Book. Eric Gordon put it best. "We're not there yet," he said. "We're going to get there. We've just got to continue grinding through." And to finish this one off, the Golden State Warriors head to Phoenix once again, looking to break a 5-game road losing streak and looking for revenge for CP3, who was tossed by Scott Foster on the last trip to town. It was almost the moment we were all waiting for as Bradley Beal returns to action after almost a month rehabbing his back. But Kevin Durant can't escape a game time decision, and the inaugural debut of the Big Three is teased and pulled from us once again. We put a lot of love into these recaps, folks, so we are recording early. I'd like to think there was enough hype in this one to pull the Sun squad together and take another one from the Warriors this year, and I'll just let the clips speak for themselves. Right now, we're going through the early season scaries, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, there's just too many moving pieces still shuffling around to get a true, concise picture of what this Phoenix Suns team is really about. Right now, the Suns sit at 13-10, continuing to hover right around the middle of the pack. And that makes sense because that's what you get early in an NBA season when a team is almost 500. Nevertheless, I got to know what our guy Chris Patrick has been seeing over the past 2 weeks. So the floor is yours, Chris.
Mike, we always try and be brutally honest with our opinions on the Phoenix Suns and shoot it straight with our opinions. The Suns had a great 7-game win streak going into the previous 2 weeks, but they didn't have many challenges. 5 of those wins came against teams that are currently below 500. And we're starting to play good teams, and we've seen that we're struggling a little bit. I mean, just how long are we going to let the lack of Brad Beal be an excuse for this team? At a certain point, we just have to accept that this team won't be at 100% for any significant period of time, whether it's Beal being out, Booker with an ankle, Durant with whatever. There's going to be more times than not this season where we don't have the big three on the court. So holding on to that hope that one missing piece is going to bring this team back together, I think is a bit naive. Now, Bradley Beal did make his return on Tuesday against the Warriors, but with the back injury surely lingering, how long is he going to be able to stay in the lineup? To my previous point, I don't know. It just seems like the Suns might need to look at finding another point guard to help fill in and fill out this roster. Might also want to look at adding another big that's 6'10" or taller who can actually help out down low. Some of these little bigs that we've been getting the past couple years, I just don't think they're cutting it. Yeah, you can be 6'8", and that's tall for the everyday man, but for the basketball player going up against 7-footers, you're going to struggle. And lastly, I just want to see this team play 4 consistent quarters of basketball. It just seems like we've been begging them to do that and have not been able to see that translate onto the basketball court. We talk about great third quarters, great starts to a fourth quarter, and then something goes wrong and they slip up or get comfortable and the game either slips away from us or we win it in a close one. I'd like to see them cut down those close games and run away with some more.
Yeah, Chris, I think there's been 2 major factors that have continued to stick with me to start this season as well. I mean, I got to start off with the mediocre play at home. I mean, to barely be 500, right around underneath as well. I think back to those first 2 games against the Spurs. I mean, they struggled to win another game after that for an extended period of time, man. I mean, 12 points in the third quarter against the Kings. We're struggling to close out these games like you were stating earlier too. I think back to the first time the Warriors came to town, the same with Memphis on this stretch that we saw as well. We're just losing those tougher matchups at home when you're supposed to have the advantage, right? Home field advantage, home court advantage. And it's not like there isn't juice in the building. I mean, we're at 90 consecutive sellouts. And Chris, you know this. It's been predominantly Suns fans. So that's just been a little bit worrisome to start this season for me. And my second point was just general lazy play, man. I mean, I think about this 2-week stretch, about 14 turnovers a game, about 13 offensive rebounds given up. And we've seen some higher ends on those, specifically that quarterfinals matchup against the Lakers. But it just seems like some of this stuff, Chris, is just general not putting their foot on the gas when they need to and playing laid back. I know an 82-game NBA season is a daunting task, but some of this stuff is basketball 101, Chris. Like, this is getting a little bit absurd to see these guys not play with the intensity that they need. I don't care that it's early December. You have to set a precedence early on within a season, especially when you don't have all your pieces together. It's been interesting to say the least, but I keep thinking back to what Eric Gordon said. We're not there yet. We're going to get there. But like I've been saying, we have to go off of what's in front of us right now. And with that being said, what's in front of us is the player of the recap. And Chris, it's your time to go first. So I got to know, who is your player of the recap for this one?
Man, always a pleasure to go first when presenting the player of the recap. And I have to go with a back-to-back for me and our guy, Devin Armani Booker, for my player of the recap. He might be a player of the recap for one of us, Mike, every single recap this season. And with good reason. I mean, just look about what we're talking about. The points he's able to put up, playing through injuries, wanting to be out there for his guys, having the endorsement from his coaches and teammates to be the starting point guard, and them stressing his importance at that position. I mean, Devin Booker might be a top 5 point guard in the league now, and that's not even just a fan perspective. That's a national opinion. You can go look it up. People are talking about it. So I'll keep it short and sweet. Devin Booker is the guy. He's my player of the recap this week. And in 2 weeks, he just might be my player of the recap again. We'll see. But Mike, with him off the board, who are you taking?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Chris. Who am I supposed to go through now? No, that's fine. I had somebody in mind this time. And for my player of the recap, I'm going with the big man. I'm going with Jusuf Nurkic, man. Over the past 2 weeks, averaging 16.4 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. But let's put a caveat on this once again. It's still the tale of inconsistency with Jusuf, but it's like that with this entire team right now. I mean, he has an absolute showing against the Nuggets, stepping up to the challenge against arguably, like I said, arguably the best player in the league. And then he scores 3 points in the quarterfinal matchup against the Lakers due to his early foul trouble. And it's just tough too, because 2 of his best games over the past 2 weeks were in losses. I mean, I think back to that Toronto game as well, where he had a nice one with 19 points and 14 rebounds. But Jusuf Nurkic is setting out an example early right now with what a big man has to do in this type of situation, right? There's going to be games where he gets the opportunity. He's going to have action called to him. And then there's other times where he's going to have to insert himself as a facilitator and do those little things. And he's shown right off the bat that he can do it. And he can do it at a high level. Now, I like what you said earlier as well. We'll have to see what happens when it comes down to that backup big man. But we're talking about player of the recap, and this one had to go to Jusuf Nurkic.
Good choice, Mike. I can't argue with Jusuf. He is doing exactly what we need him to do. Could be doing more, but couldn't everybody? We'll see how that shakes out in the next 2 weeks. Starting this Wednesday, the Phoenix Suns will host the Brooklyn Nets at Footprint Center. This is the start of a 3-game home stretch for the Suns. After that, they'll have the New York Knicks and the Washington Wizards in town. They'll go on the road for a quick trip to Portland to take on the Trailblazers, come back down to Sacramento to face the Kings, and finish out the next 2 weeks on Christmas Day, taking on the Dallas Mavericks here in Phoenix. Definitely going to be a lot of eyes on that one. So we're going to keep bringing you a recap of the Phoenix Suns every 2 weeks this season. So make sure you subscribe right here on YouTube and set those notifications so you can stay up to date with all the Valley Sports and Phoenix Suns action. For Michael Benjamin, I'm Chris Patrick, and we'll see you next time. Peace.